Berlin, 1936. The city was preparing for the Olympic Games, a symbol of Nazi Germany's power and prestige. Beneath the streets of Berlin, engineers of the Reich's chancellery quietly began constructing a modest air raid shelter. Its purpose was simple: protect key officials from aerial attacks. But this modest shelter would eventually evolve into the infamous Führerbunker, the underground nerve center of Hitler's regime during the final days of World War II. By 1943, the relentless Allied bombing campaigns forced the Nazis to rethink their underground fortifications. The original shelter was expanded into a complex two-story structure, reinforced with nearly 4 meters of concrete. The lower complex, completed in early 1944, became the core of the Führerbunker. It consisted of approximately 30 rooms, connected by narrow claustrophobic corridors. Each room served a precise function: offices, sleeping quarters, communication centers, and storage rooms. The Führerbunker was connected to the upper Vorbunker and the Reich's chancellery above. While the Vorbunker housed the support staff and security personnel, the lower Führerbunker became the operational headquarters for Hitler himself. Engineers meticulously designed ventilation systems, emergency exits, and reinforced doors to withstand bombs. Yet, despite these precautions, life inside was confined, claustrophobic, and tense. The origins of the bunker illustrate the escalating paranoia and desperation of the Third Reich. Hitler, who once conducted rallies in the streets above, would eventually retreat entirely underground. The bunker, initially a protective measure, became a symbol of the Reich's decline, secrecy, and obsession with control. Even the entrances were hidden in the gardens of the chancellery, blending the bunker into the city above, making it invisible to outsiders. By January 16, 1945, Hitler and his closest aides, including Martin Bormann, Joseph Goebbels, and secretaries Traudl Junge and Gerda Christian, had moved into the Führerbunker. Outside, Berlin was under siege. Soviet artillery pounded the city relentlessly, buildings burned, and civilians fled or hid in cellars. Inside the bunker, life was a surreal contrast: narrow corridors, dim lighting, poor ventilation, and constant warmth from underground water pipes. Daily routines were rigid but emotionally tense. Hitler spent long hours in his private study, revising military plans for armies that no longer existed, dictating orders to secretaries, and meeting with officers who reported the inevitable collapse. Despite the doom outside, there were moments of eerie normalcy. Meals served in the same small rooms, music playing softly from gramophones, and conversations about mundane topics interspersed with discussions of strategy and propaganda. The bunker's atmosphere was one of claustrophobic isolation. Supplies dwindled, morale fell, and tensions ran high among the staff. Hitler's increasing detachment from reality was mirrored by the bunker's labyrinthine design, which made it almost impossible for outsiders to understand or access. Guards and aides were strictly controlled, every movement monitored. By April 20, 1945, Hitler's 56th birthday, Soviet forces were closing in on the chancellery. The city above was engulfed in flames, yet underground, Hitler received birthday congratulations, some from staff and loyal followers who still clung to hope. Eva Braun, Hitler's longtime companion, moved into the bunker, joining the group in their underground refuge. Amid the encroaching chaos, life continued with an odd mix of ceremony, routine, and despair, reflecting the psychological collapse of the Third Reich. April 29, 1945. As Soviet troops pressed toward the chancellery, Hitler married Eva Braun in a brief civil ceremony in a small conference room. That evening, he dictated his last political testament, blaming generals and Germany's enemies for the Reich's destruction, while praising loyal followers who remained underground with him. The following day, April 30, 1945, Hitler and Eva Braun took their own lives in his private study. According to surviving witnesses, the pair's bodies were quickly removed, doused in petrol, and set on fire in the garden outside under the orders of Martin Bormann. Their deaths marked the symbolic and literal end of the Nazi leadership. Meanwhile, other bunker residents either attempted to escape or surrendered to the advancing Soviets. Joseph Goebbels and his family, steadfastly loyal to Hitler, ended their lives within the same complex. By May 2, 1945, Soviet forces had fully occupied the Reich Chancellery area, discovering only fragments of documents, destroyed rooms, and the charred remains of Hitler and Braun. These findings confirmed Hitler's death, yet Stalin initially withheld full confirmation, fostering myths of Hitler's escape. The Führer bunker, once the center of Nazi power, was now a ruin. Its chambers filled with debris, its corridors silent. Yet the story of the bunker did not end there. It became a subject of mystery, legend, and Cold War intrigue, as the Soviets tightly controlled information about its condition and exact location. After the war, the Soviets carefully removed and studied what remained of the bunker. Teams photographed the rooms, documented layouts, and collected fragments of burned papers. For decades, the location of the Führer bunker was shrouded in secrecy, concealed by Soviet authorities to prevent it from becoming a pilgrimage site for Nazi sympathizers. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, parts of Berlin were reconstructed, while the bunker's remnants were either destroyed, buried, or built over. In December 1947, Soviet engineers attempted to demolish the underground complex, partially succeeding but leaving some corridors intact. Subsequent Western authorities further obscured the site, renaming streets, covering entrances, and erasing its presence from public maps. By the 1960s and 70s, the area above the bunker had been integrated into East Berlin's urban landscape. Construction crews occasionally uncovered reinforced walls or rooms, only to have authorities immediately close and conceal them. The Führer bunker remained hidden in plain sight, a silent testament to the Third Reich's final days. Even as Berlin became a Cold War focal point, the bunker's ruins lay quietly beneath the surface, largely forgotten by the public. Only decades later would historians, archaeologists, and journalists revisit the site, uncovering fragments of a hidden past. The Führer bunker, once a symbol of Nazi power, had been reduced to shadows beneath the modern city, a haunting reminder of the secrets, destruction, and human cost of Hitler's Germany.